Good evening, I'm Ian Hannamansing. Tonight, a Quebec community mourns two young girls as the manhunt continues for their father.
We have to consider the fact that, yes, it could be armed.
The intense search for a suspect and the plea from police for the public to stay away. Florida shatters the record for new COVID-19 cases as the happiest place on earth reopens. NHL players prepare for training camp as Canadian cities prepare to host them. The potential risks and rewards. And she says she was raped by fashion designer Peter Nygaard, and her full story was suppressed for decades.
I woke up and I saw it was Nygaard.
Now she's breaking her silence to the Fifth Estate. This is The National. In Quebec tonight, a manhunt is underway for a father accused of abducting his two young daughters whose bodies were found yesterday. Heartbreak now layered on top of concern over where Martin Carpentier is now. Police and soldiers are searching a wooded area near where his crashed vehicle was found on Wednesday night. It is just southwest of Quebec City near the community of Saint-Apollinaire. Meanwhile, as Verity Stevenson tells us, those who knew the girls are grieving.
This is how people in Lévis are celebrating the lives of 6-year-old Romy and 11-year-old Nora Carpentier. Families stop by, children leave notes. Some of them knew the sisters. I wrote that I love them, she says. One woman is a friend of the girl's mother, who she says is still struggling to come to terms with what happened. The girls' bodies were found yesterday, 3 days after police say they were abducted by their father, Martin Carpentier. They were last seen Wednesday night at a convenience store shortly before his car was found crashed and abandoned not far away. On Thursday afternoon, police issued an Amber Alert. They've been searching for him ever since.
We do not know exactly what kind of health condition he is. It could be armed.
Police are focusing their search to this section of the woods near Saint-Apollinaire. A resident near here reported seeing Carpentier yesterday. Police say they found objects they believe could help them find him, but they're restricting access to the area because of what happened yesterday.
What happened yesterday night is that some people wanted to help. So they just heard a noise in the woods. And in fact, it was just a branch that just broke up. That's it. But people just ran into the woods. We're talking about maybe 100 people.
Police are searching on foot, ATVs, and with a helicopter. The forest is dense, the weather hot and wet.
A different fluctuation in the weather. So we can say that if it's hard for us, it's hard for him too.
Carpentier is a scout leader. Nora was a Cub Scout, and Romy on her way to becoming a Beaver Scout. Autopsies will be performed on their bodies soon.
Those information are really important because it's going to tell us the exact cause of the death for both girls.
Back at the growing memorial, grief as the community and those who knew the girls try to find a way forward. Verity Stevenson, CBC News, Saint-Apollinaire.
There were more than 240 new cases of COVID-19 reported across Canada today. And within that national number are several regional hotspots. Heading into the weekend, Ontario, which remains the largest source of Canada's new cases, has actually seen the pace of known infections slow, but Quebec is seeing an uptick in cases, some linked to bars in the Montreal area. And there's also a bump in BC after reports of a cluster in Kelowna. Barr Stewart shows us how those provinces are racing to trace and contain cases before those clusters become outbreaks or worse.
Even during a global pandemic, Montreal has a vibrant nightlife, but health officials are urging anyone who has been to a bar since July 1st to get tested. I think it's a good idea, says this woman, after public health identified at least 8 cases connected to 5 different bars, and there are worries the spread could be much wider.
For example, in the ones we've investigated, they use Ubers to get between bars, so there are Uber drivers that get exposed. They live in apartment buildings or in places where there are other people who are in close contact.
Montreal Public Health says there's been an increase in demand for testing. They're now asking bars to collect the names of all of their patrons to help with contact tracing, but that is voluntary. In Kelowna, BC, public health has taken a different approach. After 8 tested positive in the area, they've asked people to monitor for symptoms and named a resort and a lodge which cases have been connected to.
We released the names of these 2 specific locations because they were gatherings where there were a large number of people there, and we're likely unable to track all of the people that were at these gatherings.
The owner of the lodge says he did host a group of golfers from Alberta, but isn't sure who tested positive. The lodge is now being thoroughly cleaned.
It's a tough one when you single out 2 places. What about all the restaurants and the bars and everything that people might have went to?
Infectious disease experts say health authorities have to try and balance privacy with public health.
It would be good to continue with either targeted testing if there's any reason to think that there's a risk, or ongoing sort of sentinel surveillance so that we can be ready to react quickly.
As more people start to socialize, those new cases will come, and tracking them will be the first line of defense. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Tomorrow, Ontario is expected to announce its move to what's called Stage 3, which will involve reopening most businesses and gradually lifting restrictions. This after a gathering on Lake Erie became an example of how at least some people are balancing recreation with risk. The annual Potahawk Boat Party has sometimes attracted 10,000 people, including some people from the United States. Well, today it happened again despite COVID concerns, and Talia Ricci was there.
The so-called Potahawk Piss-Up earns its name from the massive crowds day drinking and dancing.
Potahawk's always a great time. We come out with our buddies every year.
And this year, the boat party on Lake Erie went ahead despite COVID-19, but it did look a little different. Partygoers said they were being more careful.
We're keeping it under 10, so we're okay with our crew.
Others opted to go it alone to make distancing easier.
You can stay away from each other and everybody else.
This is the first time I'm not going to take part in any partying. It's more of a viewing trip, just because of COVID.
Police say there were 700 boats and attendance was down from last year, but the marina was prepared.
Well, right off the bat, I'm sure all our customers that have been here in the past will notice we have a lot more staff.
OPP will be out today making sure that everyone's boats are anchored 2 meters apart and that everyone's staying within their 10-person social bubble on the boat. They're also going to be reminding people not to pick up strangers, which has been an issue in the past as well.
As you head out into the water, you can be prepared to be stopped by the OPP.
Constable Ed Sanchuk says officers often deal with incidents involving alcohol at the boat party. And it also attracts crowds from across the border, which remains closed to non-essential travel.
This is something that the police cannot cancel. What we need people to do is they need people to police themselves.
The main concern from health experts was that physical distancing guidelines would be ignored.
Obviously, the outdoor environments are lower risk than indoor environments, but that doesn't mean there's 0% risk.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern to see if it spreads in this little town.
This father and son went on a fishing trip away from the action and the risk of infection.
Oh, it's good to get outside, out of the house, keep everybody from going insane.
The hope is that this weekend's fun doesn't lead to more cases. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Turkey Point, Ontario.
South of the border, COVID-19 cases continue to surge. Florida leading the way tonight, shattering the record for new cases. Today, the state announced more than 15,000 new positive test results. And Florida set another grim record this week with an average of 73 deaths a day. That's compared to 30 per day just 3 weeks ago. Still, as Katie Simpson shows us, none of that has stopped one of the state's signature tourist attractions from reopening this weekend.
Walt Disney World is trying to pitch itself not only as the happiest place on earth, but one of the safest. Trying to win over anxious customers, Disney released this video showing cheerful employees wearing masks, guests keeping their distance, and getting temperature checks.
As long as everyone's being safe and following the rules, I think that there's no reason to really worry about it so much.
Despite the surge of COVID cases in Florida, a state where hospital systems are being strained with more than 80% of ICU beds being used right now, the theme park's reopening is being endorsed by the CEO of the state's largest hospital chain.
I wouldn't hesitate to go to Disney as a healthcare CEO based upon the fact that they're working extremely hard to keep people safe.
The Trump administration wants states, even with hotspots, to stay open and is encouraging more physical distancing.
Everybody, if you're out in public, we have to have about 95% mask wearing or face coverings.
The president finally took the advice of his own coronavirus task force and wore a mask in public last night. But tensions on that task force are emerging.
I respect Dr. Fauci a lot, but Dr. Fauci is not 100% right.
The White House is trying to discredit Dr. Anthony Fauci, the country's top infectious disease expert, giving reporters a list of comments he's made in the past about COVID that have turned out not to be true. Fauci has apparently upset Trump with his criticism of the U.S. response to the pandemic.
I think it's important to tell you and the American public that I'm very concerned because it could get very bad.
The president has a history of discrediting his perceived critics in the hopes of swaying public opinion. He's done it with the media, political opponents, and is now targeting a key member of his coronavirus task force. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Still in Florida, Major League Soccer is the latest pro sport to be hit by COVID-19. MLS postponed today's match between Toronto FC and DC United in Orlando after a United player tested positive and a Toronto player's test came back inconclusive. This coming just 2 weeks after COVID-19 sidelined several Toronto Blue Jays and staff. And the Toronto Raptors held a group practice in Orlando this weekend, the first big workout for the defending NBA champs in 4 months. Practice had been limited to 1 player per hoop until COVID-19 testing was completed. NHL players begin training camp tomorrow with games resuming in August. The league confirmed Friday what had been widely reported for days. Those games will all be played in Toronto and Edmonton, where, as Rafi Bouchikanian tells us, there is both excitement and concern.
Here on goal, they score! The front of the net, and he scores!
2 teams, 2 better seasons than they've had in a while, until the pandemic put that on pause in mid-March. Now their home cities officially the 2 homes of hockey.
We like to see hockey.
We've got the facility, that's for sure.
But despite that excitement, there is uncertainty among residents, officials, even players.
If any of our players were to opt out for any reason whatsoever, we'd be fully understanding.
A handful of NHL players on different teams have already done that, citing health and safety. But for players who are taking part, the league has outlined its COVID-19 bubble plans. Players and their entourage will get COVID tests every day, no visits to each other's hotel rooms. Here in Edmonton, they will stay in hotels close to Rogers Place.
Thank you for calling Bruce Chris Edmonton.
Restaurants like this one are hoping they'll be part of the bubble for some much-needed business.
You know, we believe we're fully prepared, not only with staff, but we have a lot of space in this restaurant.
Up to $60 million of economic activity.
The Alberta government hopes to see a boost, but this sports economist expects modest revenues.
It's an economic boost in that it's better than not hosting at all, but it's not going to be something that makes everybody forget the pandemic.
Money aside, some are concerned that players crossing the border will only be in isolation for a week.
The high rates of testing should add a layer of protection to that. If I was starting from scratch, I think I might have tried to work in the 14-day quarantine.
While players won't compete in the building behind me until August, they will start training camp tomorrow. That's also their deadline to announce whether they're opting out. Rafi Bouchikanian, CBC News, Edmonton.
The opposition is demanding the Prime Minister testify under oath before the House of Commons Finance Committee as it looks into the contract given to the We charity organization, which had previously paid fees to several Trudeau family members.
Simply put, it is time for the Prime Minister to come clean, to answer questions, to stop the evasions.
The Conservatives say they will also add Finance Minister Bill Morneau to the witness list. Morneau also has family ties to the group, but didn't step away from cabinet discussions about the contract. Last week, as reported by the Toronto Star, We laid off 450 contract employees hired to administer the now cancelled contract. Well, here's something you don't expect to see in the summer. Slush. Red Deer, Alberta getting hit with the slop thanks to heavy storms delivering hail, heavy rain, and strong winds. And here's what they got in Innisfail, making driving feel more like January than July. And a twister was spotted near Nanton, Alberta. And the investigation is underway into why two cargo vessels collided yesterday during what should have been a routine maneuver in Ontario's Welland Canal. There were no injuries or fuel spills. And in San Diego, an explosion and fire aboard a U.S. naval ship has left 21 people with minor injuries. The cause not yet known. The warship was in port for routine maintenance. There were 160 sailors and officers on board. The ship carries helicopters, amphibious vehicles, and troops. 6 months after Iran shot down a passenger jet as it departed from Tehran, the country's investigators there have disclosed what they say went wrong, including human error. But many here are skeptical. 176 people were killed, including 85 Canadian citizens and permanent residents. Austin Grabish spoke to a man who leads a group of grieving loved ones.
Through tears, Kurish Dushanash is fighting for justice for his late fiancée.
She was a beautiful, smart, very accomplished scientist.
That is where my research comes in.
Dr. Farouk Hadam was on Ukrainian Airlines Flight 752 when it was shot out of the sky in January. The award-winning scientist was one of 6 from Canada chosen to attend a Nobel laureate meeting and had planned to get married this summer.
She was love of my life. I never imagined at this stage of my life I'm going to find someone so beautiful and so loving. And then to be snatched is brutally.
Dushanash simply doesn't believe a new report from Iran's civil aviation organization. It blames the catastrophic tragedy on a misaligned missile battery and communication between soldiers and their commanders.
This is continuation of the lies and deceit they have been doing, and we don't believe to anything what they say because they are not credible.
Former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy says the report must be challenged, but he says that won't be easy because Canada cut ties with Iran in 2012, something he says needs to change.
When we're not there, we're simply relying upon other governments to do the lifting for us, and I think that's why it's important to get involved.
Dushanash grew up in Iran and doesn't trust the government. He says it has harassed relatives of victims who died on board in recent months.
We have people even in Canada. They have receiving threatening phone calls.
Iran now says it will transfer the plane's black boxes to France. Investigators from Canada as well as other countries are going to be there next week to see if any data can be retrieved and to see if it says anything new. Austin Grabish, CBC News, Winnipeg.
In Russia tonight, huge crowds of protesters remained on the streets of one city, continuing a 3-day protest over the arrest of a local governor. Opponents of the Putin government say that arrest is part of a larger crackdown on dissent. Chris Brown shows us why.
Russia's far eastern city of Khabarovsk has rarely witnessed protests like this weekend, especially Saturday, where tens of thousands shouted slogans such as "Putin resign." What's going on in Russia is completely outrageous. We've become a totalitarian society, said one man. The anger is over the arrest of regional governor Sergei Fergal, who beat the Kremlin's candidate in the last election. The alleged crimes are serious, murder and attempted murders 15 years ago. But his supporters believe his real transgression now is that he challenged President Vladimir Putin's authority. And critics see a pattern. Days before, former journalist Ivan Safronov was charged with treason for sharing state secrets. His lawyer told CBC News outside Lefordova prison the allegations are bogus.
I think it's a warning for all journalists in Russia to be accused in espionage or state treason.
When many of Safronov's colleagues picketed outside the headquarters of the secret police to protest, they too were promptly arrested. This all comes shortly after the Kremlin pushed through a new Russian constitution, cementing Putin's role as president, practically for as long as he wants.
Generals from the FSB.
Moscow author Andrei Soldatov has written extensively about Russia's security services.
The goal is quite obvious, that he wants to keep everybody off balance and constantly thinking what can happen next.
Security services have often intimidated journalists publicly, like when they stormed the offices of independent TV Rain as the station was broadcasting live, recalls host Denis Katayev. With every month, with every year, we will have more and more incidents like this of what he fears is growing authoritarianism in Russia. Chris Brown, CBC News, Vancouver.
A former employee of Canadian fashion designer Peter Nygaard is sharing her story tonight.
I was about to say something and he put his hand over my mouth.
She says he raped her 40 years ago. We'll look at why a Canadian newspaper kept her story out of its pages. Ahead tonight, a Fifth Estate investigation. Plus, searching for the source of COVID-19.
We know it's very, very similar to the virus in the bat, but did it go through an intermediate species?
The World Health Organization is on the ground in China. And later, a future star scientist. The new ad campaign featuring a younger version of a familiar face. We're back after this. More than 4 months after declaring COVID-19 a pandemic, the World Health Organization warns the global pace of infections is accelerating. The WHO says it recorded more than 230,000 cases over the past 24 hours, the largest daily increase so far. Driving the numbers, growing epidemics in the U.S., Brazil, South Africa, and India. Understanding how COVID-19 spread in the first place is critical, and the World Health Organization is now investigating those origins in China. As Vicodopia explains, before patient zero came the animal that started it all.
People in the epicenter of the worst modern pandemic are still finding their footing 3 months after emerging from a strict lockdown. Markets are back open, but officially there's a ban on selling wild meat, like at the wet market where the first cases of COVID-19 emerged. A WHO team will now investigate how the virus jumped from animal to human.
We know it's very, very similar to the virus in the bat, but did it go through an intermediate species? So this is a question we all need answered.
Bats have passed around coronaviruses for thousands of years. Because they're mammals, humans are susceptible to the pathogens they incubate. But it's still not confirmed which bat species it originated with and where, though that may be of questionable value to epidemiologists.
I am not sure that pointing to the exact geographic location is very helpful unless we have a clear idea of some particular animal mankind interaction.
That may be difficult to prove. It took a team from Wuhan's Virology Institute a decade to nail down the exact population of horseshoe bat that carried the SARS virus. But it's not clear how it was passed on to humans and other animals 1,000 kilometers away. Still, knowing where it started could prevent future outbreaks.
If it's in a bat species that's distributed across China or Asia, that's a different story than if it's a really localized species. So maybe there would be efforts such as restricting access to where high-risk bats are. Maybe it's thinking about animals that might be in contact with those bats, if bats are the source.
As human activity encroaches more on animal habitat, the continued emergence of new viruses is inevitable. Vicodopia, CBC News, Toronto.
There are now just over 8,800 COVID-19 related deaths in Canada. And over the past few months, we've been sharing some of the stories behind those numbers. It's a project we're calling Lives Remembered. Tonight, Catherine Brown remembers her friend and colleague, Eugene Deas.
My name is Catherine Brown. I lost my friend, Professor Eugene Deas, to COVID-19 on April 27th, 2020. Gene was 88 years old. Gene was many things to many people, a husband, a proud father and grandfather, and a great lover of schnauzers. For me, he was a trusted colleague, a mentor, and a friend. Gene was a graduate of Harvard Law and of Berkeley, where he played varsity ball against basketball greats like Bill Russell. He went on to teach at Johns Hopkins University until he was lured by the University of Calgary to the Great White North to establish the first faculty of law. His office was beside mine for more than 20 years. It was an astonishing maze of books and manuscripts and newspapers. He was a relentless researcher and innovative on all research fronts. More than 20 years my senior, he was the one to introduce me to Google. Professor Deas had a devoted band of student followers. Known by affectionate nicknames like Mean Gene and Dr. Death, he was in fact neither. Some of his most successful students would comment later that he was the best professor they ever had, ever. He had taught them the most important thing of all at law school. He had taught them how to think. Professor Deas was equally devoted to his students. I can still picture him at faculty functions, smart gray jacket, beer in hand, in conversation with them. As a fellow academic, I think Gene would like to be remembered for his love of books. He had more books than anyone could imagine. His love of debate. He was merciless with his students and his colleagues. And of course, his love for the great philosopher Immanuel Kant. If Professor Deas was to teach us one more lesson before he passed, I think that lesson would be, if you're through with learning, you're through.
Thanks to Catherine Brown for sharing Eugene's story with us. One of the lives lost to COVID-19. We've gathered some of their stories online, and you can find them at cbc.ca/remembered. And a note on a story we brought you last Sunday about the death of Canadian Broadway star Nick Cordero. That story contained images of shows in which Cordero did not appear. We regret the error. Cordero performed in Waitress, A Bronx Tale, and Bullets Over Broadway, for which he was nominated for a Tony Award. He died from complications related to COVID-19. Up next, a Fifth Estate investigation into Peter Nygaard.
I don't get anything out of telling my story except maybe a bit more peace inside.
A former employee says the designer raped her 40 years ago, her story only being fully reported now, but it's not the first time she's gone public. A woman who once worked for Peter Nygaard is accusing the Canadian fashion designer of raping her. She says it happened 40 years ago, but her story is only being fully told now because at the time, Winnipeg's business elite pushed to keep it quiet. So tonight, she's speaking out again to have her story heard, this time to the Fifth Estate's Bob McEwen.
10 women have launched a class action lawsuit against Canadian clothing manufacturer Peter Nygaard.
Under investigation for rape.
A number of women claim they were victims of what they call a sex trafficking ring.
Dozens of women from Canada, the U.S., and the Bahamas have now come forward to accuse Peter Nygaard of sexual assault, including rape. Most of the allegations are from recent years, but the Fifth Estate has also uncovered cases that are decades old, including what you're about to hear from this woman, who says that Nygaard raped her in 1980, and that when she tried to go public with her story years ago, powerful Winnipeggers made sure all the details were kept secret. That is, until now. Peter Nygaard began his fashion empire in Winnipeg, and by the 1990s, he was one of the city's most prominent business leaders. Reporter Catherine Mitchell covered Nygaard for the Winnipeg Free Press.
Definitely people knew who Peter Nygaard was and what Nygaard International meant to the city.
But a darker side of Peter Nygaard was about to emerge. In 1996, Mitchell and another journalist learned about a story with the potential to shake up Winnipeg and Nygaard. Mitchell reported that 3 of Nygaard's female former employees had launched sexual harassment complaints against him with the Manitoba Human Rights Commission.
The allegations were that he would make sexual comments constantly, sort of in the joking manner. He would touch them inappropriately, like touching their bodies, so they had those complaints.
The article was published on a weekend. By Monday, Mitchell's voicemail at the Free Press was full.
A number of them were saying you should call this person, call this person.
One of the names she got was a former Nygaard employee living in Denmark, Jana Larson.
I managed to reach her and interview her over the phone. I mean, she certainly didn't seek the public spotlight on this, But in her case, I think what was compelling spoke to her credibility and integrity to a degree, is that she documented this. She made notes.
But the Winnipeg Free Press never published Jana Larson's story about Peter Nygaard.
I guess the one regret that I had was that, yeah, definitely Jana's story deserved to be told.
This past winter, we went to Denmark to track her down and to hear her story for ourselves. Today, Jana Larson is 72, but in the early 1980s, she was a single mother from Denmark with a flair for fashion, hoping to start a new life in Canada.
I have never been afraid of trying new things. And my job in Copenhagen was finished, so I left and I fell in love with Canada right away. I was very good at being a seamstress and designing things.
Eventually, she landed a job in Winnipeg, working for Nygaard.
She was very competent, she's articulate, attractive. She was very friendly, she was very welcoming, and I think she was doing a very good job.
In fact, before long, Peter Nygaard took her on a business trip to Asia. Decades later, Jana Larson admits the whirlwind itinerary to Hong Kong and Taipei is now a blur, but she still remembers being shown to her room by the hotel manager.
I was just a country girl still at that time. I'd never seen anything like it. One room connected to another room. The door was open. I said, well, I like you to lock the door, and I want to make sure it's locked.
Reassured, she says she fell into bed, exhausted by the overseas flight. But then, in the middle of the night,
there was somebody in my bed. And I woke up and I saw it was Nygaard, and I was about to say something, and he put his hand over my mouth. He said, oh, just don't worry, you're a nice girl, and I'm not going to hurt you, and yeah. But he raped me. Yeah. After he left, I got up and I sat in a chair and I cried, and I remember when I sat there and sitting in the chair crying that everything was just a bit a mess.
Back in Canada, she says the atmosphere at work was changing, that Peter Nygaard began to harass her.
Nygaard had been on my back for quite a while, yelling and screaming, I think because I started to develop a lot of resentment. I thought he was a jerk.
Finally, in the summer of 1981, Jana Larson says she was forced out of her job with Peter Nygaard's company.
She phoned me and she was very upset.
Jana had confided in her friend and fellow employee Dale Dreffs about what took place in Asia.
She was in a foreign country. Who was going to believe her? She's a single mom. She needed her job. And she had just kept it to herself until this happened, and then she was very angry.
Distraught, she eventually threatened to go to the press and the police.
Nygaard got wind of it, and she was offered a cash settlement and a letter of recommendation.
For 15 years, Jana says she didn't talk much about what had happened to her. Then she decided to tell it all to the Winnipeg Free Press. Catherine Mitchell did the interview. The question is, why didn't it appear in print? The newspaper's publisher at the time was Rudy Redekop, who says he got pressure from top business leaders in Winnipeg, people he calls Nygaard's compatriots and Winnipeg kingpins. He says he worried the reporting might be sensationalist. What's more, Peter Nygaard threatened a lawsuit. Catherine Mitchell says she and the majority of the newsroom disagreed, but their boss killed the coverage anyway.
It was made clear that we weren't going to continue with the story.
Today, former publisher Rudy Redekop says that was a different time, and he now admits that maybe we should have proceeded with the Nygaard story. Recently, Peter Nygaard's lawyer sent us a statement saying Mr. Nygaard was not involved in any attempt to stop the publication of a story about unreliable, false, and malicious allegations. Unable to find another job in Winnipeg, in 1982, Jana Larson and her daughter Zitta returned to Denmark. Jana eventually married, is a grandmother, and lives a quiet life in a town on the shores of a northern fjord. And now, almost 40 years later, Jana's full story is finally being heard.
It still affects me.
Is that in part why you're telling this story?
Yes, it is. Like, I don't get anything out of telling my story except maybe a bit more peace inside. It's good having my daughter here as well. I never think that I really told her the details. It's unpleasant, but yet I feel good about her knowing it. I ask myself for some peace and breathing space after all those years.
The Fifth Estate's Bob McEwen. When we come back, keeping an eye on a different kind of heat wave.
It has become clearer and clearer that measuring this warming ocean is more and more important.
What those rising water temperatures could mean for marine life. While many of you in Ontario and Quebec have been coping with sweltering weather, out here on the West Coast, scientists are watching for a different kind of heat wave, what some are calling the marine blob, that could have a catastrophic effect on marine life. Last fall, I went down to Washington State to see how scientists and the seafood industry are watching the warming waters of the Pacific.
Taylor Shellfish describes itself as the largest producer of farmed oysters and clams in the United States.
So these are diploid Pacific oysters.
But it all starts small, microscopically small. A kilogram of this stuff is actually more than 100 million oyster larvae, sifted, sorted, washed in seawater.
So honestly, they don't look that impressive when they're in those big buckets, but through a microscope you can tell how, well, first of all, that they're alive, that they're active, and they're ready for the next stage.
But 10 years ago, these larvae were dying off and no one could figure out why. This is how they're supposed to look after 3 months. But up and down the coast, something in the water was killing the oysters before they could develop their shells.
It's different colors are different species of plankton that we grow to feed them.
As we walk by tanks of algae, food for the shellfish, Bill Dewey says it took industry, the state and federal governments, and universities to figure out what was wrong. Acidification of the ocean, the result of increased carbon dioxide being absorbed into the water.
These are some baby geoduck clams.
Dewey says in Washington State there was no debate about the problem or the cause.
We need everybody's help to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and get at the CO2 pollution problem, because that's what's changing the chemistry of the ocean and affecting our ability to grow our baby oysters.
Acidification is one of the problems in the waters here off Washington State, and we're heading out to look at one of the buoys that they use to measure that. But it's also monitoring water temperature. And right now, Washington State, or at least the waters here off Washington State, are having their second marine heat wave in 5 years.
A network of solar-powered buoys deployed by the University of Washington reaches deep into the water, sending data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 15 years.
We are in the Salish Sea, which is a large inland water body that goes from Canada to the state of Washington.
Professor Jan Newton says in July, the buoys along the coast recorded seawater temperatures as high as 4 degrees Celsius above average. The data available online.
When you see red, that means warmer. And what you can see is the full water column was warmer than the long-term average. So that's telling us the presence of the marine heat wave is here in Puget Sound.
What's the implication of that?
So the implication is a bit unknown at this point.
But what is known, say scientists, is the impact of that marine heat wave a few years ago. A decline in salmon stocks, a surge in the number of dead birds, and stresses on mammals like sea lions searching further for food.
In science, we talk about multiple stressors, and I think in everybody's life they know that, right? You know, you're stressed about your budget, you're stressed about your job, you're stressed about your kids or whatever. And when you have multiple forms of stress, that's when you start to perform less.
And the warming waters extend far beyond Puget Sound.
So the upper 700 meters here, 700 to 2,000 meters. And
Greg Johnson is an oceanographer with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Not only does he know how much more heat the oceans are absorbing, he knows how to describe it.
The ocean is warming at an average rate of about 10 zettajoules a year, which is 330 terawatts. Again, a terawatt is something with 12 zeros after it. Take my word for it, it's a huge number. This is equivalent to the energy of 5 Hiroshima bombs a second exploding continuously from 1993 through the present.
Think about that for a moment. Johnson says that almost unfathomable amount of heat trapped by greenhouse gases has been absorbed by the oceans for more than 25 years, extending deep below the surface.
Yeah, so these are Argo profiling floats.
The hard evidence of ocean warming is coming from these. There's a network of more than 3,700 in oceans around the world, sending readings every 10 days to scientists. Data that's critical to understanding the impact of global warming on our oceans. And, says Johnson, also a little disheartening.
Over time, since the 90s, it has become clearer and clearer that measuring this warming ocean is more and more important. You know, initially I was kind of excited because my science is getting more relevant as time goes on. Now it's kind of depressing, actually. It's a hard thing to study. We do need to take action.
In the meantime, there's some short-term fixes. Now that shellfish farmers know acidification prevented the oyster larvae from forming shells, they monitor the pH levels in the water coming into the hatchery and keep the acid levels down.
This is where the science happens in here. Yeah.
In here is the Berkolator, named after the professor who developed it. It continuously monitors carbon dioxide in the water. But Dewey says the scientist who helped him also had a warning. Acidification will rise.
Even if you can convince the world to stop burning fossil fuels today, this problem is going to get worse for you for the next 30 to 50 years because of what's already absorbed in the Pacific Ocean and in the pipeline coming your way.
It's a scenario Newton knows well, but she worries the message isn't being heard.
I woke up this morning and I heard on the news, and it was like all about the stock reports and the economics, and I'm just wishing that people were thinking, oh, the temperature anomaly in Puget Sound is 2 degrees Celsius, and the temperature anomaly in Nanaimo is whatever it is. You know, I wish there was a higher awareness of that.
And that does seem to be a source of hope among the people we talk to here, that the cold, hard data may lead to a greater awareness of warming waters.
Up next, bringing some star power to Vancouver's Science World. How a childhood photo of Dr. Bonnie Henry ended up on a new ad campaign. Not only is Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry credited with steering British Columbia through the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic, she has become something of a celebrity. And for her latest impressive feat, she's even mastered time travel, in a manner of speaking. Dr. Henry's most recent star turn is our moment. The face of youthful determination. This photo of Dr. Bonnie Henry, taken back in grade school, now anchors a fundraising campaign for BC's Science World under the rallying cry, "The world needs more nerds." After closing in mid-March, Science World lost 85% of its revenue and was forced to cut staff, with others taking pay cuts. Things look bleak, but then inspiration. Enlisting the help of the woman who's become a national symbol of calm, capable leadership. Dr. Henry has already inspired murals, memes, even a fancy pair of shoes. All of this for being a highly effective, unapologetic supporter of science. Nerd, in their words, not ours. And in what sounds like an unintended pun, the campaign has gone viral. It says something, I think, about how the COVID story has progressed in this province, really in this country. I don't know that medical health officers would be used in advertising campaigns in every country. Also, she had a great elementary school pick. No one wants to see any of my picks from grade 4 or 5. Anyway, that is The National for July the 12th. Good night.